Hi everyone, welcome back to this new episode for the Python object-oriented programming. And during the last episode, we have been looking at the class methods and build a small application for it. But for this part 2, we are going to have a real-life example where we are going to take the API data from the internet and insert it in our object. So for this tutorial, we are going to use the help of the Urllib request library and also the JSON library, where both of them are native Python libraries. And we are going to discover also the data from the Google API book, and we will learn how to read it and how to put it in an object. So let's start by just reading this link. So let's start with the HTTPS, and then we have the Google API book v1 volume, and then we have the Q in title. So we are going to look for the title. And what you see here, the 7 and then the percentage sign and 20, this can be translated from research perspective as the space habit. And after that, we do have the language restrict to only English and maximum result to 40. So this is the link that we are going to study. So let's copy here the link and go to the Mozilla Firefox and start seeing what would be the result. So let's copy here the link, save it. And we do have, so the raw data should be like this one. It's a long, big, gibberish data that is hard to understand. And Mozilla offers the way to have an organized JSON structure here. So what we can see here, and that's to help you, is we receive a kind of a Python dictionary. So we do have kind, total items, and items. And this is helpful later on to study the data. So what we see here is we do have a dictionary, and inside of the dictionary, the items here is a list. So if we open here, we do have a list with 40 elements starting from 0 to 39. And inside each one of the element, we do have another dictionary. So if I open here, we do have here a dictionary that shows the kind, ID, etag, self-link, and volume info. So if we go to volume info here, we can find, which is a dictionary too, the title. We can have also the authors, which is a list, convenient because we do have the same. And also here the publisher, the description, and some other things like the language. And we may see also the number of pages. I think there's a page count. Yeah, here the page count. So what we are going to do now, based on what we are seeing here, we are going to extract the data and to input the JSON data inside our object. So let's first start by getting the data. And what we can do, so we do have our the book class that we created through the whole tutorial ready for us. So you should be familiar with it. And then let's start first of all by import the Urllib library. So urllib.request. That's what we need to get. And also let's import the JSON library. Okay, fantastic. So first of all, let's make a research based on the book name itself to have a more flexible program. So let's take the book name and equal the program will ask provide a book name or provide a book title. So provide a book. No, this is string, sorry. And here provide a book title. Okay, so the user will be providing a book title, and based on that, we need to change a little bit the book title. So let's call it URL title like this, and this will be equal to the book name here, and we are going to replace whatever the space that we do have here, whatever the space that we do have, by the percentage sign and 20, and this is especially for the research for the Google API. So here 20, and after that we are going to make the URL that we do have. So URL is equal, and we can copy this one exactly same as this one, and we are going to make a small change on it. So let's put it as a string like here, and let's put the F so we can insert elements. And instead of having this one, the 7 habit here, what we are going to put, not the 7 habit, but the URL title. So we are going to input the URL title here. Let's save this one. And then after that, what we can go is go to data. So we are going to have a response. So first we get the response where we are going to use the Urllib, this one, the urllib.request. And after that, we are going to take the URL open and send our URL that we just created. So by taking the response, we know that it's a JSON response that we are going to get, and we need to translate it to the Python language. So let's have a new variable that we call data, and this variable will be using the JSON library that we got, and we are going to load the response that we got from the Google API, and we are going to read it. So we need to read it, but not only read the response, we need to have a decode so we can have the same format as the Python format. So let's print the data to see how is the result up to now. So let's save and see if our program is working properly up to now. So let's go to the console, Python 007, and run this one. Let's say the 7 habits. Okay, and by running now, we do have an error. So this str have no, okay, I think the mistake is JSON loads, not, yeah. So let's clean again, run it again, a title 7 habits, and run it, and we do have all the API that we wanted to download. So it's a huge, big gibberish of data that we see here. It's quite very hard to read, and we would like to insert some of this data in our objects. So let's make this one small again, and let's comment this part. So now what we can do, as we have said, we do have in the data, let's go back again to the Mozilla. So the first response that we get here is a dictionary. And what we would like to have within this dictionary, as you can see, item is the list, actually. So let's take a look at the same time so you can understand how we can break down this very complicated API. So what we need to go for, and for, let's say, item in data, and this is the initial data we are getting, data, and of the dictionary here, data items, like this. And for this one, what we can do is getting in my book here, so we do have the data here, it will be exactly the same. So inside it, we can put my book, like this one, and equal to a book. So what we need to see here inside of data, in the 0, for example, we need to see inside of it, so let's make this one bigger a little bit, volume data. So this is inside it, we do have authors, description, page count. So we can have book and create a book, and is the item, but we inside the item itself, inside the item that we do have, we need to see the first one, which is the volume info. So it's also a dictionary where we would like to deep dive in the volume info. So volume info. Okay, so this should be right. So let's go a little bit like this. So we are going to create, and to have at least an idea, let's print each time my book. Let's create my book, and we can see the dictionary that is generated. So we can use the dunder bar of a dictionary. Okay, and to make it more helpful, sometimes this data is not matching. So let's make a try here and except we can put E as exception. Okay, and we put here print E. Sorry, it's exception as E. Like this. Sorry. And print E, just in case. Sometimes E, there is some exceptions. So let's save this one and make it bigger to see what would be the result. So let's clean all this, run this one again, a title, we do have the 7 habit, and now it's running. So you can see that we do have libraries that are generated, or this is still very complicated, but let's create. So we do have our book here, and we do have the str. So we do have this str1. So let's just print my book. So we will have just my book like this. So that will show us the name of the book and also the name of the book and the authors. So let's clean again and go to the console, make CLS and run it again and give the 7 habit, and that should generate. Here we do have a long list of books. They are different books, but all of them have the same name and also by the same author. But sometimes there's a Shin Covey supporting Stephen Covey. Okay, maybe brothers together. And you can see here description, page count. This is generated by the exception. So sometimes the description doesn't exist. So instead of crashing my program, what I'm putting here is an except, and this one generating here that there is a problem, this description is missing. And you can see here, you can see all the data that is reviewed one by one. And a real example how we could get huge volume of data from an internet API and putting the whole thing in our object. So that can make a lot of a bit of sense, but we will have another example, a bigger example with an overhaul application at the end of the whole OOP tutorial where this will make more sense. So thank you a lot for today. Really appreciate you stayed at the end of the video to see with us, and in the next video we will see the inheritance in the OOP. Thanks a lot and see you next week.